Hi, I'm going to talk about Dr. Mercola's video called Nitric Oxide Release Workout. It seems to be a form of high-intensity interval training or high-intensity exercise, and there's a lot of misunderstanding about this, and I'm going to point by point refute Dr. Mercola's reasons for why it's healthy for you and why it's a good idea. Before I do that, I just want to say that Dr. Mercola is one of my idols. He's very inspiring to me. He's really probably the biggest person who has had an influence on educating Americans about the dangers of the medical profession and the possible benefits of evidence-based alternatives to medicine. So big props to him for that. However, he's got it a little bit backwards here with this nitric oxide release workout, high intensity exercise. So he says that nitric oxide has 4 main benefits, and that's the purpose of this workout, is to get the most benefits out of your nitric oxide, to release it from the storage in your blood vessels, which I've read it doesn't get stored, so I think it was just a figure of speech. I don't think he meant that literally. But number 1, nitric oxide lowers blood pressure. So doing this exercise releases nitric oxide and lowers your blood pressure. That's all true. Number 2, it balances your immune system. That's true. 3, it thins your blood, decreasing blood clots. That's true. And it is an anabolic stimulus, helping you to build more muscle, and that's true. But to refute this, number 1, a lack of nitric oxide release is not the cause of high blood pressure. So the only reason we would do this exercise is if we thought we had high blood pressure due to a nitric oxide deficiency. And that's just not the case. Nitric oxide deficiency may be involved with high blood pressure. It certainly is, but it's certainly not the cause. So the cause of high blood pressure is poor diet or junk food diet combined with stress. That's just the cause. So if you want to fix high blood pressure, you need to fix your diet and you need to learn how to manage your stress better. Then your blood pressure will come down and you won't need to do nitric oxide exercises. If you do nitric oxide exercises, your blood pressure might come down, but if you're not fixing your diet and lifestyle, then you're actually giving yourself a false sense of health, which is dangerous. Number 2, the immune system, balancing the immune system. It does play a role in that. However, a messed up immune system, again, is caused by junk food diet, or maybe you're allergic to certain foods that you're not aware of and you need to eliminate those, and stress. So the same holds, the same reason as the blood pressure problem. If you do this exercise and it balances your immune system through the nitric oxide release, you're not fixing the problem. Number 3, it likely does thin your blood and decrease blood clots and blood clots, but stress is what causes that. So adrenaline causes the blood to clot. My father died of a bleeding stomach, and as in the hospital, as they were trying to save him, they were injecting him with adrenaline, trying to clot the bleed. And so when you have a lot of stress, you're going to have a lot of adrenaline, and your blood's going to be thicker and it's going to more likely clot. So doing this, releasing nitric oxide to combat the cause of the clotting blood, which is stress, it's just not going to work. And I'll go into this more in a little bit here. Plus, the interesting thing is, even though you're releasing nitric oxide with this exercise, you're also releasing a ton of adrenaline. And so that seems to me like it would counteract the benefits of the nitric oxide as far as thinning the blood. Number 4, an anabolic stimulus, and that's true, and it will help you build muscle, and that's true. But I'm not so sure that it's going to help you burn more fat. And I think what he meant is that you'll burn more calories. So the more muscle mass you have, the more calories that you will burn throughout the day. Your metabolic rate will be higher, and that's all true. The problem is it actually doesn't help you to lose fat, because that's when we're trying to lose weight, we want to lose fat, right? It doesn't help you lose the inches of fat because your brain accounts for the calories that you burned when you were exercising and increases your appetite to match that. So it also calculates the amount of calories from your metabolic rate that you're burning every day and increases your appetite to match that. So if you build muscle and your metabolic rate goes up, your appetite's going to go up. So it doesn't work. Besides that, it's a anaerobic exercise. High intensity exercise is anaerobic, which means you're going to build anaerobic muscles. Anaerobic muscles have a hard time burning fat. They like to burn sugar. So if you build a bunch of muscle that's going to be burning sugar all day, you're not losing fat. You're just burning sugar, which then will make you crave sugar, which means you'll be more susceptible to giving in to your sugar cravings and eating junk food, which then will cause an insulin spike, which then will cause your liver to turn the sugar into fat and send it to fat storage. So in real life practicality, this exercise is not going to help you burn fat, and it's not going to help you burn more calories and make you lose weight. In fact, it's probably the opposite of that. And a lot of cortisol is being released during high intensity exercise. Cortisol breaks down muscle. So any anabolic benefit you might be getting is going to somewhat be negated by the cortisol release. All right, so high intensity exercise or high intensity interval training, or the nitric oxide release workout as he likes to call it. Number 1, it amps up your sympathetic system, which is your fight or flight system, which is your adrenal system. So it's an adrenal stimulant. And again, when we talk about stress causing high blood pressure and immune system imbalance and blood clots, it's through the adrenal hormone system that most of that occurs, so the adrenaline and cortisol. And the way the high intensity exercise works is it causes a huge burst of adrenaline and cortisol to be released, which means it's literally a stress. So if the problem is stress, why would you try to fix the stress problem by adding in more stress in the form of high intensity nitric oxide workouts? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And it does make you feel good because it releases endorphins in your brain, and nitric oxide stimulates dopamine. One reason that cigarettes are addictive is because of the nitric oxide release in the cigarette, plus nicotine releases nitric oxide in your body, and that increases dopamine, and that makes you addicted to the cigarettes. So most of the comments are very, very positive in the YouTube video of Dr. Mercola's, and I'm guessing that people really love doing this exercise because they get a big dopamine hit, and it's addictive. So high intensity exercise actually tears down the adrenals. It's not good for the adrenals. It's not good for patients that are stressed. It's not good for burning fat, as I've already described, and it's not good for building aerobic muscle, which is what you want in order to burn more fat and to lose fat inches. So the solution to this, you can actually get away with doing this kind of exercise periodically. He says 3 minutes 3 times a day 7 days a week, I'm assuming, not a good idea at all. That's ridiculous, especially when looking at a paleo perspective. You know, paleo does not mean caveman. We weren't cavemen until we moved up into Europe, and that was well after we had evolved. So it's actually, paleo is actually hunter-gatherer, and that was in Africa prior to being cavemen. And so hunter-gatherers did not do a lot of exercise. They walked a lot compared to the average American, but they actually didn't burn more calories through exercising than Americans do today on average. And there was a study that came out recently about this, showing that modern day hunter-gatherers burn about the same number of calories per day as modern Americans, even though we're more sedentary. So I don't know if we're just thinking harder or what, but perhaps we walk a fair amount when we're shopping at the mall or something, I don't know. And so it turns out that the reason we're fat is due to two things: diet and stress. It's not the lack of exercise or the type of exercise necessarily. But the 180 formula is designed to help you work out at your maximum aerobic function so that you build aerobic muscle, not anaerobic muscle. Aerobic muscle burns fat. The 180 formula helps rebuild the adrenals, helps rehabilitate the adrenals. It helps calm down your sympathetic fight or flight, calms down the stress response. High intensity training actually amps up the stress response. So if you have a healthy diet and you're not eating junk food, if you've done the 180 formula aerobic exercise to build a base of aerobic fat burning muscle in your body, and you have a low stress lifestyle, then at that point I would say you can handle doing some high intensity exercise. I don't know that we need to, at that point you don't need to release nitric oxide, because you already have low blood pressure, you already have a balanced immune system, and you already have thin blood. So I just call it high intensity. If you want to do that once you've corrected these other issues, then go for it. I wouldn't do it 3 times a day. I'd probably do it 3 times a week at the most. But again, you have to put in the hard work. Healthy diet, no junk food, low stress lifestyle, stress management. Do at least 3 months of 180 formula aerobic exercise. And then at that point, if you're showing progress in your 180 formula exercise, that's from Phil Maffetone, and I'll link to it at the bottom of the film here. Then you can start to do some high intensity work if you want. You don't need to. You actually don't need to do it for health, but you could if you wanted to. But continue doing your 180 at least once a week and track it the way they show you. And if your 180 formula progress starts to go down as you start to add in your high intensity, then that's a sign that you're not ready for it. But you should be checked for your adrenal stress levels and your adrenal health by an alternative health practitioner before implementing high intensity work. And really, I don't even trust that. I would do 3 months of 180 formula first, regardless, and watch that you're starting to progress, and then and only then add the high intensity in. But really, unless you're some kind of professional athlete, I don't really see the point of it. The tingling in the fingertips, he said that's a sign of the nitric oxide being released. That may be true, but it doesn't necessarily mean for sure that's what it is, because it could be if you were hyperventilating, that can cause tingling in your fingertips. If you released endorphins, that could be the tingling. And just the adrenaline, the amount of adrenaline you're releasing in that high intensity workout, it could easily cause the tingling in your fingers. So, but I'm sure that it's partly the nitric oxide as well. But again, I don't really see why you need the nitric oxide when you're going to have plenty of it with a natural diet and a healthy lifestyle and with healthy adrenals. All right. Comment below and ask questions, and I can answer them.